Hey there, boys and ghouls. Welcome to the inaugural episode of Ken and D's
Podcast of the Dead.
Welcome to our new podcast. I am Ken,
And I am Dee.
and this is our podcast strictly on our love of horror movies. Every so often, we're going to try to make it a weekly thing. We're going to recap something old, maybe something new, and give you our takes, give you our views, make fun of it, maybe, or praise it. But either way, we're going to pick a movie and we're going to talk about it. And that's what this episode's about. So, Lady D, are you ready for this?
I am.
Now, you love horror movies almost as much as I do.
Yes.
I say almost as much because I am a huge, you know how huge I am with horror movies.
Yes.
But in your defense, you love horror movies too.
I do.
Like, you grew up watching some of the classics as well.
Yes.
So, but there are horror movies that we are going to run across that you either haven't seen. We're going to do movies that you might have seen but haven't seen in a long time.
Awesome.
We might do movies that you may never want to see again.
Yeah. There's some pretty bad ones out there.
And by some, there's a lot.
Yeah.
But without further ado, we're going to get into our first movie and our first podcast.
Okay.
On our first episode of this new podcast, I should say, we're going to talk about a movie that came out actually around the same time you were born.
Ooh.
You were born in 1988, correct?
Yes.
Yes, and that's when this movie came out.
Mm.
So this movie is just as old as you are, but I don't think it has aged as well as you have.
I've aged well?
Better than this movie.
Okay.
All right. So the movie in question is 1988, directed by Kevin Tenney. He has done a movie prior called Witchboard. And after doing Witchboard, he went on to do this movie that became a cult classic, but didn't get good reviews when it first came out. And said movie, just so you guys all know, is tonight's movie, and that is Night of the Demons.
Ooh.
So at this point of this podcast, we are going to take a small break. You listeners at home will either be treated to the trailer or whatnot. Something in between. But you guys will be treated to something while me and Dee watch the 1988 cult classic Night of the Demons. And when we come back, we'll give you our thoughts, our opinions, our whatevers.
Yes.
A full moon. A spooky, deserted mansion. Halloween night.
All right, dudes! And Dusses! Let's party!
10 kids. All they want to do is raise a little hell. Now, as long as they live, they'll wonder what's gotten into them. Night of the Demons.
Blessed be the sinners, for the day of atonement is at hand.
Stop looking at me.
We're gonna get out of here!
Night of the Demons. Party till you drop.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, ends our viewing pleasure of Night of the Demons. So, Dee,
Yes?
what'd you think of Night of the Demons?
Whew. It was outdated and cheesy.
Okay, I'll give you that. It was very cheesy.
Yes.
I will say, when it comes to horror movies, I hold this one actually very close. I really like this movie. And it's not because of the cheese factor, because this movie is very cheesy.
Yes.
To give you guys a rundown, because you guys couldn't watch it at home, you can watch it at home if you want. That's why we do this podcast, to tell you whether it's a good watch, whether it's a bad watch. It's our opinions. So, my opinion, it was a good movie. But not good as in, oh my god, it's a blockbuster hit.
This is a movie for somebody who likes the classics. If you are a younger person, it's probably not for you.
Right. For starters, it's a demon movie. AKA the title, Night of the Demons. You don't see much of that anymore.
No.
And that's one of the reasons why I hold this movie close to me. Is because you don't see much demonic movies. It's possessions, it's ghosts, but not demons.
Right.
I think the last demon movie I might have seen was like Night of the Demons got a remake, actually. And we'll talk about that once we get to watch that one. But
There was a later one.
a demon movie?
Not necessarily a demon movie, but it had a demon in it.
Oh, what's that one?
Insidious.
Right. I don't know why I keep forgetting about Insidious. You're right. And it did have demon, but honestly,
It wasn't a demon movie, it was a ghost one.
but even if you consider it a demon movie, it's only one out of how many movies that came out in that time frame. You had Insidious and the movies that followed it. There was one demon movie.
yeah.
Back in the 80s, there was a handful of demon movies. Like, every time you turn around, they were right there with zombies.
A lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, and you don't get that much anymore. So Night of the Demons, I hold close because it is a genre in the horror movie field that you don't see often. Demon movies.
Yeah.
But, as you said, it was very cheesy.
Yes.
And to give you guys a rundown, the movie follows this girl named, what was her name? Judy?
Yes.
Judy. Played... The characters in this movie were so stereotypical. They were very stereotypical. Like, Judy was your sweet and innocent innocent girl.
Yes.
Naive and innocent girl. Her dick of a boyfriend was the cocky, I'm gonna get laid, jockish kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Followed by her ex-boyfriend in this movie is this Italian that looks like he could have been like out of Wise Guys movie, right? He's like, forget about it, you know. He was
Yeah.
very stereotypical Italian. But we follow Judy as she gets ready to go to a party being held by this goth girl, Angela, and her, I don't know, cheerleader type friend, Suzanne,
Yeah.
at a place called Hull House, which I guess used to be a funeral parlor / crematory held in a remote part of wherever they're at. And I guess bad things happened in Hull House decades ago, if not centuries ago. And now this group of teenagers are going over there for a Halloween party.
Yep.
And of course, because it's a demon movie, all hell breaks loose.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I said, we follow Judy. Shit happens, and they're very stereotypical. I said about Judy. I said about her two boyfriends that she had. One that she has, who is
Well, one
dick,
was
and
an ex.
One's the ex. The Italian dude was an ex. And look at me, I'm talking with my hands over here. The Italian dude was an ex.
Which I don't know why he was the ex, because watching the movie, He should have been the current boyfriend.
Right? I mean, he started off as a dick, though, because, like, he was really rude to her brother.
Yeah.
By the way, her brother in this movie is played by a young Donnie Jeffcoat. And I don't know if that name hits a bell for you, but growing up, for me, I remember watching Nickelodeon had this show called Wild and Crazy Kids. It was kind of like kids doing like all different like sports activities and fun stuff, and it was hosted by 3 people, and one was a teenage Donnie Jeffcoat.
Oh.
So I remember that, and then seeing this movie, I'm like, Donnie Jeffcoat. Oh my God, it's Donnie Jeffcoat. But yeah, Sal was like a dick to her brother in the beginning.
He was, but with how the guys treated her, Sal was,
He was like the lesser of the 2 evils,
right. He genuinely cared about her. The other guy was just using her.
and trying to get some.
Yeah.
But they go to Hull House, and I mean the party is filled. Like I said, there's Angela and Jessica. Who's Jessica? Angela and Suzanne, right?
Yes.
Suzanne played by Scream Queen Linnea Quigley, which we'll get into her acting here momentarily. That's like a whole subtopic that I could bring up is Linnea Quigley's acting.
I
Okay?
know her one scene in this we have brought up in the
We-
past on the podcast.
We have brought up in podcasts prior, but we're going to bring it up again because it's on this subject.
Yes.
But where was I? Oh yeah, then there's like this Asian girl. I'm not sure the stereotype character she was playing.
I'm not sure either.
Her boyfriend was like the smart guy though.
Yeah.
And then of course the one black guy in here
Was afraid of everything and was the most cowardice.
was not only afraid of everything and the most cowardice, but his father was a preacher.
Well, yeah.
It's like-
But wait. He did break a stereotype.
what was that?
Should I say it? It was near the end. Right at the end.
Well, pause that. We'll get to it. We'll get to it because we don't want to ruin the movie yet.
Okay.
And of course there was Stooge, who was like your atypical asshole punk guy. And
Yeah.
I forget the other girl. I don't even know what her spot was. She was just filler. I don't know. I don't have a clue where she was in this. But as I said,
She was the logical one. She wasn't innocent, but she was logical.
I guess we can go with that. But yeah, they all played very stereotypical characters. And I mean, it was 80s. I guess if you can get anything from 80s is everybody was a stereotype in the 80s.
Yeah,
Like if you watch any movie in the 80s, everybody was a stereotype.
definitely.
Like if today's movies, you watch today's movies and like people kind of blend lines, like your character is blended. But back in the 80s, if you were a goth, you were a goth. If you were a punk, you were a punk. If you were a cheerleader, you were a cheerleader. If you were ditzy, you were ditzy. If you were smart, you were smart. There was no kind of like the smart jock or the heartfelt punk. There was none of those.
But there is still one thing that's stuck around.
What was that?
If you're in a horror movie and you sleep with somebody, you're dead.
Right. I mean, that's a trope I think that stayed in all of horror. If you sleep with somebody, you're gonna die.
Yes.
All right. Just remember that, guys. If you ever find yourself in a horror movie, stay celibate.
Right.
Stay celibate.
Yep.
But yeah, the characters were crazy. They were very stereotypical. And as I said, they end up in Hell House. And once they get there, they do a seance, which then wakens up the evil inside this house. And one by one, they start getting possessed. And it comes down to who's going to survive the night. That's the
Can I
premise
add
of the
something
movie.
real quick?
Sure.
Here's something that I feel like needs to be said. If you ever go to a freaking house and you suspect it's haunted or has demons or whatever, if you think that it has negative energy in there, don't go have a seance. Don't entice that motherfucker.
It's like just to look at the house. If you watch the movie and you like the one scene when they pull up to the house and the one guy like looks at the house, it looked ominous. Like it was like not your typical like It may be scary, it may be spooky. No, that house screamed haunted. Like all it needed was a neon sign that said haunted flashing beside it.
Even without the stories of it, I'd be afraid to go in it because I'd be afraid I'd fall through the floor.
Or how about the one flaw I also had in this movie? Oh, there's a lot of flaws, but the one flaw I found in this movie is when they got there and they get to the house, and the one guy checks to see if there's a legend that was true about a running stream underneath a giant brick wall. Who builds a brick wall over an underground stream?
Whoever built it.
Like, I think the smartest line I heard in this whole movie was when Jay turns around and goes, well, whose architectural genius did that?
I don't know if that was Jay.
That was Jay.
I thought it was the smart one.
No, the smart one was the one checking for the water.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And Jay said that, and I was like, that's the smartest thing I heard this whole movie. Like, who builds a brick wall over an underground stream?
Right.
Somebody did. But, yeah, getting back to the movie. That was the premise of the movie. I gave you the premise of the movie. Now, Dee, were there any scenes that stuck out to you?
Let me tell you what annoyed me. And it's something so little, and I'm nitpicking, and I know this. When Jay went to Judy's house, and he says, "You look beautiful."
Right? Like,
so monotone.
The acting was so great. Like, Jay was talking very much like this for the whole movie. Like, come on, guys. This is how I'm going to talk. And then Judy, who ends up, spoiler, the heroine, I guess you want to call it. Like, she's the final girl.
Yeah.
Her acting, she's like, oh, Jay, why me? I'm going to talk like this for the whole movie. La la la. That's how her character was for the whole movie. I wanted to reach in and like smack her.
And I have to say, I hated the way they portrayed the goth girl. That was probably the worst stereotype of all of them.
Right? Well, she didn't have good hair to begin with. She had that 80s like fluff hair.
Well, I'm not even just talking about the hair. Like, they're goths, so they have to be in there doing seances and shit.
Well, yeah, it was the stereotype, though. I said they were going with very much stereotypes. And yes, the goth girl is the one that did the seance.
Like, I don't know, just... I feel like they need better reputation than what they have, and things like that did not help.
Right. No, it did not. But, the acting was horrible. I mean, again, and I will reiterate many times in this because it's kind of like reassuring myself. I love this movie. This is a good movie. I hold this movie dear. With that said, the acting was horrible. And look, like there's the ominous house right there. Yeah, the acting was horrible.
Yeah.
They were very kind of like, this is my line.
They were either they were underselling it too much or overselling it.
Right, and we get into Linnea Quigley. Because I said we're going to get into her acting. It's a whole like a whole subclass of this conversation by itself.
Okay.
Linnea Quigley, she is a scream queen. And why she has that title is she's been in like 4 or 5 horror movies throughout the 80s. Like, she was a horror movie icon.
Yeah.
Not as big as like your Jamie Lee Curtis's or whatever, but she has her own right. She's been in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. She has been in Night of the Demons. She was in Return of the Living Dead. Like, she has been in multiple movies.
Yeah.
Also, other movies that I don't know off the top of my head because they were like B movies. You know what I'm saying? But her acting and everything she does is so robotic. For an example, in this movie, all right, there's one part where they said something about we're gonna party or something, and she's like, yeah, let's do that. That's how exactly yeah, let's do that.
It sounds very sarcastic.
Right? Or like when she's like, Do you guys got any sour balls? Too bad. Bet you don't get much blowjobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Her acting is very like you're gonna have some cute guys, I hope.
And then I hated also when she did the kind of whiny thing.
Which one? Which part was that? The
Just
whiny
the way
part?
that she would talk like this. I can't do it like her. I can't do
oh
it.
yeah, when she was like, so you said there are gonna be some cute guys, right? Like you're like whiny, like
Yeah, ooh.
She talked like
Ugh.
this, and then she talked like this, and then back like this. Like I'm gonna talk all my lines like this.
Yeah.
No matter how my expression is supposed to be, this is how I'm going to talk. So that's Linnea Quigley. Like if you watch her in anything, and we might catch her later on. I do want to see Return of the Living Dead with you, right? She's in that, and you'll see her acting is the same in every fucking movie. Like her acting.
I would say that it's because it was the 80s, but let's be honest, there were 80s movies where the acting was on point.
Now, I'm dissing her.
But you love her.
But I swear to God, like if she ever came to a convention, I want her. I'm going to try to get her autograph. I'm going to be like Linnea fucking Quigley. For one reason only, and I know it's not in this movie per se, but she is the first, as a child, I guess, as an adolescent boy growing up, she
Yeah.
was the first naked woman I've ever seen.
Okay.
Like, so it's like I want her autograph. Like it's like getting your first Playboy autographed. It's like I got this. Like sign it, please. But her acting's it's a whole thing. You guys got to see it. You've got to watch the movie. It's the whole thing. So with the acting being the way it is, what did you think of the story?
It was okay. Here's my thing. I have desensitized myself so much that while it was a horror movie, it had zero scare factor to me.
Well, I think that comes with it being an 80s movie. And I'm not saying that to sound like I'm dissing on 80s movies. I love 80s horror. I grew up on the 80s horror movies. You grew up on 80s horror movies.
Yeah.
But when it comes to watching an 80s horror movie now in 2025, it's like it doesn't have the scare. It's more like nostalgia than scare anymore.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like I watched the movie because it's something I liked and it did scare me back in the day. Now it's just it's a movie. It's not a horror movie, it's just a movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, the scare wasn't there. And let's go with the demon. First off, when you actually see the demon, it's like I don't know, like a dragon skull.
Right?
Was it like a dragon, like a bone dragon skull?
That's what it looked like.
Like it looked like somebody took a marionette bone dragon from D&D and just were like, "Bruh, bruh."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you didn't even see any of the rest of the demon. It was just its head.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the time it was the characters getting possessed.
I think they could have put more thought into the appearance of the demon.
I did like the I guess you want to say the homage to Evil Dead ish. Like there's no connection to Evil Dead in this, mind you.
No, but it did have a similar feel.
When you get to
kind
see the
of.
demon for the first time,
Yeah.
it was like Evil Dead where like you are the eyes of the demon going through the building. It was very Evil Dead-ish.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I was hesitant to say that at first because I know how much you love those movies, but it really did have a similar feel to me.
It did. It very much so, and I won't argue that. But like the movie itself had the whole movie had like an Evil Dead vibe going on.
Yeah.
You know, the whole like gotta survive the night, you're gonna be dead by dawn, everyone's turning into demons.
Mm-hmm.
It was Evil
Even
Dead,
the
1988.
aesthetic of the demons was kind of similar.
Right. So let's put it in perspective. If you're a fan of Evil Dead, you're going to be a fan of this movie.
Yes.
If you did not like Evil Dead, you're not going to like this movie.
There you
That's how
go.
similar they are.
That's the best way to put it.
Right. With the story though, as I said, it wasn't scary. It had a lot of like what the hell elements. Like Linnea Quigley. We're gonna go back to the topic that we were originally gonna talk about that we've talked about previously.
Yes.
There is a scene. Clearly it's fake as day. You can see that it was fake as day.
It was very well done for the time, though.
Right. For the time it was done well. But the scene has her. Now, put this in your mind. She's already possessed. She's possessed, slowly becoming a demon. And she's very self-absorbed. She, like the whole movie, she's nothing but makeup on her face.
Yes.
Keeps checking her makeup. My makeup's got to look good for the boys. Like she's got like,
Yeah.
always, like make herself look good. She's sitting here and being possessed. She like takes her top that's like a button top, but unbuttons it, exposing her chest. She takes a lipstick thing. I don't know what an old-fashioned lipstick thing, like where it twirls and stuff. And she's drawing on her face.
Yeah.
She draws like this heart-shaped thing on her, like her whole face. And then she draws down her chest, around her breast, around to her nipple, and then proceeds to push the
Lipstick.
container into her breast, finger deep, and then pulls her finger out, and it's like gone. It's like she's storing her lipstick in her chest.
Yep.
It's like such a weird scene, and it had nothing to do with nothing really, because she did that. None of the survivors saw her do it. It was just like for us to see.
I am going to make a comment, though.
Yeah.
I think all of their makeup budget went to making a realistic looking fake chest.
Right, because that was the best looking prosthetic in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's a scene where a guy loses his arm. There's a scene where, like, I don't know, the makeup work was actually not too horrible. It was 1988.
But it wasn't as good as them fake boobs.
No, those fake breasts were really on par. They looked good.
Yeah.
The only way you knew they were fake is because she pushed a lipstick thing into them.
Yeah.
That's the only way you could tell they were really fake. That, and there was, like, really no jiggle factor.
Uh-huh.
Like, when she went around her breast, it was, like, firm.
Yeah, yeah.
But besides that, it looked good.
Yeah.
Not to say that the makeup in other parts of the movie didn't look good. There's a scene where, like, the demons get burnt. And you see Angela with her face, like she's got the demon face and the burnt at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Like it even had the steam coming off. Like I don't know how they did that, but it had the steam coming off a little bit. And I was like, that was really good makeup tree.
Yeah.
Some of it was kind of corny, like the guy with the no eyes, and then he's just walking around like pretty much with his eyes closed.
Why have thou forsaken me?
Yeah, it's like, when did he become religious? Like, he was, like, out trying to get laid the whole movie, and then once he becomes a demon, he's like, I can't even
Why
say it.
have thou forsaken me?
You know, why have thou forsaken me? It's like, what the fuck? Like, when did you meet God? You're a demon. So we get through the movie. I know I'm jumping all over the place. I'm trying to get to the points. We get through the movie. It comes down to two survivors.
Yeah.
It comes down to Judy, the innocent girl,
Yes.
and Roger,
Yes.
who is the stereotypical black guy. But here we go. You said something that you were going to say earlier about him breaking it.
He did break the stereotype. The well, we all know what the negative stereotype is. When we thought that he was going to take off without her, He came back to help her.
Right. Well, he took off a lot of times. If you watch the movie, he took off a lot of times on people.
Yeah, but right at the end there, he came back when it mattered most.
Right. Like when it mattered the most, he reached out and he muscled up and helped her.
Yeah.
But before that, there was a lot of times where like they'd be in the hall with him with somebody else. He see a demon coming, and he's like, boom! He like take off without telling someone.
Yeah. That's the thing. He was a negative stereotype until the end when he broke the stereotype.
Right. So I mean that was a plus in the movie because a lot of 80s horror movies, let's even go with some 90s. If you were black in a horror movie, no offense to anybody black listening to this, because it's just how it was. If you were in a horror movie, you were either a coward or one of the first to go.
Yeah.
Like there was like no survivor.
There was 3 people that were doomed in those movies. It was black people, stoners, and easy people.
Right. And any of those horror movies, that was, if you had sex, if you were a person of color, or if you smoked marijuana, you were done.
Yeah.
You were done. Done. And that's how horror was in the 80s. Again, today, a little bit different. Movies break molds. You got Jordan Peele out there proving that. But
I feel like that's why he does what he does.
probably he probably like I am not repeating the 80s. We're gonna redo this my way.
Yeah.
But I still again reiterate, I love this movie. Why? Maybe because it's the nostalgic feel. Maybe it's because it's something I grew up watching. I've told you before many a times that me and my dad, that's how we bonded. We watched horror movies together. So maybe that's why I love this movie so much. But if I had to give it a rating, we'll say from 1 to 10. I probably would have this movie at a high 4. I say a high 4, like you can go any higher than a 4. It's a 4 or 5, but I give it at a 4. I love this movie. I do. And like I said, it's very much Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Which I hold in high regards. I love the Evil Dead franchise. But it's so cheesy. The acting is horrible. The stereotypes are real. I mean, it's just... And Linnea Quigley is Linnea Quigley.
I do have to add that I am glad you rated it a 4, because I don't think it's fair to just compare it to movies from that time when there were movies from that time that still hold up so well today.
There's even going to be, as we go on with other episodes of this new podcast we're doing together,
Yes.
there will be other demon movies that we'll watch that I guarantee you, even from the 80s, is going to be better than this.
Yeah.
So that's why I as a horror fan, as the geek demon himself, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give Night of the Demons a 4. However, I still give it a highly recommend. It may be 4 because of the acting. It may be a 4 because of the cheesiness and the stereotypes that the characters portray. However, I still give it a highly recommend because in today's horror genre, you don't see many demon movies. You don't see the classics. And this movie, for being a 1980s demon movie,
Yeah.
put yourself in the 80s, it was a really good movie.
Okay.
So that's why I, Ken Bouchard, give it a 4 out of 10 with a highly recommend for those who have never seen it.
I would go so far as to say that it's more of a, if you like horror because you appreciate that type of movie, watch it. But if you are in it for, like, to be scared, you won't be scared.
No, you're definitely not going to get scared from Night of the Demons. Especially if you're a young person listening to this podcast and you're going to take our views as recommendations, you're not going to be scared. This is not Insidious. This is not 28 years later or whatever it is that's coming out. I forget
Yeah.
the jump up. This is not going to be modern day horror.
Right.
This is 1988. This is practical effects, some digital effects for 1988. So you're going to see digital effects that's not very good when it comes to dating. You're going to see characters that are very, very stereotypical and stereotypical for the time frame. Like, you're not going to see a 2025 cheerleader. You're going to see a 1980s cheerleader.
Yes.
You're not going to see a 2025 goth. You're going to see a 1980s goth. You're not going to see a modern day jock. You're going to see a jock from the 80s. Be prepared. When you watch this movie, that's what you're getting.
Yep.
But you're also going to get fun. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun watch. Is it a good watch? No, it's a fun watch.
Yeah.
It's a popcorn flick. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch something from the 80s I've never seen before. Ken and Dee give it a recommendation, or at least I do. I don't know if you give it a recommendation. I give it a recommendation.
I do for certain people. If they like horror because they like horror.
Right, if you like horror.
Yes.
If you can appreciate the classics. If you can appreciate
Yes.
movies of yesteryear that gave us the path to movies today, you'll appreciate Night of the Demons.
Yes.
And in the future, we will talk about another episode of Night of the Demons, because this movie led on to make 2 sequels. So there is a Night of the Demons 2, and the newest one of them being Night of the Demons 3 that came out in 1997.
Oh.
So it was almost a 2000s horror movie in this franchise.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a remake, which there is a remake of Night of the Demons that came out in 2009,
Okay.
which we will catch that in a later episode as well.
Okay.
But for now, go watch Night of the Demons. You don't have to take our word or our rankings. This is just our opinions. Who are we? I'm Ken Bouchard. I'm 43 years old, grew up loving horror movies, bonded with my father watching horror movies, wrote 2 or 3 horror novellas. I love horror movies, so take it for what it's worth. Dee, you grew up watching horror movies. You've seen horror movies that I never even saw horror movies, and we will discuss those later.
Okay.
So, like Doom Asylum.
I've seen weird obscure ones.
Right. So, with that said, like I said, watch Night of the Demons and judge it for yourself. But until next episode, until we meet again, as we say in all our podcasts, especially this one,
Podcast of the Dead.
stay freaky, stay geeky, stay nerdy, and stay dirty.
Bye, bitches.
Bye.